Well, hello there, Internet, and thank you for watching this continuation of developing core. So, let's go ahead and quickly talk about a couple of the new things that have been added to the iNet.inc. I'm going to keep this relatively short because it's, well, at least the description of iNet.inc, because it's not a lot happening. The only addition that we had was these two tags here. Well, three tags. This is really not important, but okay, I'll show you. So we do basically set request.modules. We create an object component request directory.cfc underscore library underscore core and module to module. Basically, that's just loading the includes module here. So basically, includes library core module.cfc, and that just makes it available. That way, it's easy accessed. And what we're going to do next is basically say request.modules.blocks. And we set that equal to request modules. So we're basically referencing this, and we're appending the method block list. And let's go ahead and show you what that is. So we jump up to the block list, which is this function here. And basically that's going to return a list of all the blocks to load. It's going to return all the data about the blocks. So the first thing that we do is we query the block menu to pull a list of all the blocks that are associated with the particular menu ID. Now the menu ID is that ID parameter that I was telling you about being passed. And so that you can see where we get request.details.page ID, or where menu ID is 0. If a menu ID is 0, it's going to select, that's going to be applied to all pages. Now, so that's just, so it's a little bit less from the database, and say, okay, this is going to be on all pages. So, okay, very good. And after that, after we have that data, what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that the record count was greater than 0. So we're going to say we have at least 1. Okay, after that, we do a initial query. We set up an initial query here, and so we say select all from application prefix where UUID get blocks menu list block UUID is 1. So that's saying we're getting the first one since it did pass. And you'll notice this is just basically calling this query here. And what we do next is we are looping over the block list if it's greater than 1. If it's not, we just have one block. So we basically union all the results together. So we're saying select all from application data source prefix blocks where UUID is equal to the block num. So you notice that we are in our loop we index block num. So we have that placeholder as a reference, and just as publish as 1. After that, we have all the information that we need so far, and we just return the query here, the query qgetBlocks. After that, that's done. If we can't find any information here, if the block list, it just returns, it doesn't return anything. So, very good. And let's see what happens here. Okay, so basically, this is what returns. This is part of the CF dump tag that I was put at the end. So we see the UUID, that's the block UUID, the title, the show title, if it's going to be showed or not. Is it the publish start? Like this is basically when you want to start showing it. Publish end. If this date is equivalent to this date, although it's not set up yet, this is not going to end. It'll never end. Now, if this is different than this, it of course would end on the publish end date. So whether it's a published or not, which is very important, we don't want to show something that's not published. The position that it falls within. Params, this is going to change. This will change to JSON to make it a little bit easier to work with, and you can set custom parameters for your custom module blocks. Okay, ordering. This is the order that it falls within. Nothing too fancy, but that's just basically there. So note, this is just the note that you can give. This is not viewable to the user. It's just basically so you can keep documented within your backend. the module block and module. So basically, let me show you this. So the module is basically referencing this here. So it goes to modules. Say, okay, we want the content module. So it's going to open up this. And then we'll notice it says module block. So what it's saying, okay, we want the module block of, as an example, let's say featured. So basically what's happening is it says, okay, we're loading the module content block with the block featured. So it's going to load this router here. Now this router file will load in the proper include CFC. So this is a block, so load in the proper block. Let's go ahead and create this really quick so I can show you an example. Folder. Oops. Block. Folder. Can't believe we did that. Foldered. Featured. And we'll say new CFC. And this would be not extend anything. I hate that it does that. Just default. And we'll click finish. So it'll basically work like this. So sorry guys, I should have thought ahead. Once again, okay. So basically we're loading the content. Say, jump back. Sorry, I keep rambling here. So basically say, okay, the module is going to be content. So what it does is say, okay, we're going to load the content, and the block that it wants to load in is going to be featured. So the core will load in the modules component router file component. Then it'll load in featured, block, then featured, then the default.cfm, which is just going to be a naming convention that it works with. After it loads in that, it's going to load in the default.cfc or whatever component standard that you want to name now, because it's up to you to create these if you're going to be creating custom components. But this is the naming convention that I would recommend following, because this is what I'm going to be following developing core. So it loads in the default.cfc, and after it loads in the default component CFC, default component block CFC, it's then going to load in the template, and that would of course render your application, and your CFC would be available to your template. That way you can get the data from it if you so choose. Okay, so let's go to the database really quick and show you what that looks like a little bit. The biggest thing I'm interested in is blocks _ menu and the blocks. So blocks menu is fairly simple. It just has 3 parameters, and that's all I foresee it needing. So the UUID, this is the block menu UUID. That's just to keep information there. The menu ID. Now, if you remember, this is basically your page ID. So when your page ID is passed, it'll basically get all the pages that are associated with your menu ID, and then it'll get the block UID, which I'll show you blocks and how that correlates. So basically, the block UID that it gets is this here, and this contains all the information that so far is needed to process the component. So what it'll do is basically get out the title, the node, content, etc., blah blah blah. As you see here, I shouldn't say blah blah blah, you don't know. So title, node, content, ordering, position, the checked out, if it's checked out or not, this is true or false. I gotta come back and optimize the database a little bit, but the time that it was checked out, if it was checked out, whether it's published or not, when does it start being published, and when does it end? And as I said about that, if this is equal to this date, it doesn't end. But if this is different, then it'll expire once the publish end. That will be implemented. The module, as I showed you, the module content, the module block. So the block would be featured. I'll load this here. And access, this is your access permissions for your users. I'm not getting into that right now, but that will be explained later. Params, as I said, this is your parameters for your module. This would be changed a little bit to JSON. That way it's a little bit easier to get your data from, but we'll explain that later. Show title, whether or not we're going to show the title of the block in core. And the client UID is just basically the person who created the particular block in its position. Okay, I think I explained everything. So far so good. We're definitely on the right track. And yeah, actually I want to show you one thing. And this is going to be the template that I'm thinking about using for coreCMS. This was a free template that I found. It's Amenzo, and it's looking pretty good. I really don't like to, you know, it's easier to find something that we can quickly use instead of me having to, you know, code out the administrator panel. You know, design that. This is here. I mean, it's got some good functionality. I like the colors a lot. It's very good. But if you guys know of any open source admin template, or if you want to contribute an admin template that looks a little bit better than this, please let me know in a comment or message, and we'll definitely see, because I haven't got to the admin section yet, so this is still up for grabs. If you have a admin template that you've created and you would like to be implemented into core, and if it's something that I think would be better use than this admin template here, I will definitely consider using that one instead. Just let me know, guys. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you following core. This is a project that, you know, I'm really looking forward to, and if you have any suggestions or comments, just let me know. I always appreciate all of it. Alright guys, thank you for watching, and I hope you guys have a good one.